The voice of sharing Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene and you're listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. And today with my co-host, Gowri. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Arlene?
Oh, Gowri, I'm fine. So together we are going to interview a person that we had interviewed earlier, last week, if I'm not mistaken, on the water crisis. But this week we are going to focus on the ecotourism in Malaysia.
Yeah, you were telling me something about the sturgeons and how we're having a new carrier project now. So we have a special guest who's joining us today to talk about that, right?
Mm-hmm. So Amlir, Ayat, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so thanks for speaking with us. First of all, can you introduce to us the background of the ecotourism in this country?
Okay, ecotourism is basically something new, a new type of tourism. I think it started to grow since the 1990s when we were bombarded with demands and also promotion of the sustainable development.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen a lot of environmentally destructive tourism, and then we have this new concept of sustainable tourism, and specifically when it goes to natural areas, we talk about ecotourism. Now, it's a form of tourism which involves visiting or travels to relatively undisturbed natural areas intended as something of low impact and often small-scale alternative to standard commercial mass tourism. So its purpose is very educational. It intends to educate the travelers or the tourists to provide economic sustainability for ecological conservation and also the local community, the enhancement of the economic development of the local communities, and also to improve respect for different cultures and for human rights.
Mm-hmm.
So the 1980s or the 1990s have been considered a critical endeavor by environmentalists so that future generations may experience destinations which are relatively untouched by human intervention. So ecotourism for me, I mean, it has a lot of definitions, but for me, ecotourism is actually educational visit or trip to relatively natural area which will benefit the local communities economically and particularly socially. That is what ecotourism means to me, at least to me.
Mm-hmm. In Malaysia, how developed is the ecotourism?
Okay, Malaysia, as we all know, we have a lot of natural resources and also expertise, especially at the local level, to manage and conduct ecotourism. However, we see that these natural resources are not fully or carefully utilized and also not efficiently applied, causing the industry to lag behind compared to other countries with similar or less resources. We have a lot of resources, okay? We often boast our country as one of the 12 mega biodiverse countries in the world and the 9th most visited country globally. As far as protected areas are concerned, we have more than 50 areas, including reserves and national parks, which cover about 5 or 6% of the country's land area. And Malaysia, like I said, we are one of the mega biodiverse countries in the world. We have at least 15,000 known species of flowering plants and more to be found.
I see.
That's a lot.
There's a lot. Yeah, definitely there's a lot.
286 species of mammals, 150,000 species of invertebrates and more to be found, and at least 4,000 species of fishes in addition to the countless microorganisms. And we have very interesting areas or spots to visit as far as ecotourism is concerned. For example, we have Taman Negara, which is 1,677 square miles and protects what we believe is 130 million year old rainforest that is reputed to be the world's oldest. And of course, we have the Endau Rompin State Park. In East Malaysia alone, we have about 7 national parks. I have to say that the Bornean part of Malaysia has more developed ecotourism compared to the West Malaysia, because maybe one of the reasons is because the tourist arrival is more aggressive there due to that Bornean branding. Thus, the state government commitment towards its improvement is much more intensive too compared to the West. So, and you have a lot of other parks there. For example, Bako National Park. We have Mulu. We have a lot of marine parks. So all these parks are seen as potential or maybe already ecotourism spots to a lot of tourists. And these are the assets that we have to promote our country and at the same time improve our country economically. They may not bring fast cash, but they bring continuous cash to the country, which is very important because we do not need to develop. In ecotourism, you don't need to develop so much. You just leave that place as it is, develop it as minimal as possible, use renewable resources, use very, very eco-friendlier resources, and people are going to come. A lot of foreigners out there, especially from the European countries, they want to see something which is natural. They are not really interested in
physical
big
buildings only, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
because they have a lot more over there than what we have.
That is interesting that you highlight that, because I'm looking at an infographic being produced by one environmentalist NGO, and it's being published in the ASEAN Facebook. It shows that Malaysia has 62% of its land covered with forests. I don't know whether it's relevant with now, but we are
now.
Yeah, but we are among the top countries that is mainly covered with forests, as in like more than 50%.
Yes, I agree with you. And that is why I said we have to make use of these resources. Our country is very small compared to other countries. So the destruction of the natural environment or the natural resources is going to destroy us in a relatively worse manner. So we have to take care of our forests, and if we take care of our forests, we're going to take care of our water supply and everything. So you can see that in areas where forests have been destroyed, in general, we have water supply problems. Now, ecotourism, when you ask me how developed it is our ecotourism, despite all these advantages? Personally, no. Even though I believe we are slowly heading towards the right direction. We are going through the right direction, but the pace and commitment is quite slow. Okay, 18 years ago, the government developed or produced this national ecotourism plan. But yet, no appropriate effort has been made to evaluate the progress based on the plan, let alone to produce a new one, which is highly demanded right now after 18 years. A lot of things have changed. A lot of demands from the tourists have changed. Now, ecotourism, in terms of fast cash, often fails to compete with quick money delivering economic activities.
And why is that so? I mean, why it cannot make better revenue compared to other sorts of industry?
Because ecotourism doesn't involve a lot of physical development. You make a lot of money when you have a lot of big resorts, expensive hotels, but in ecotourism spots, you cannot do that. People are not supposed to come in masses. If you go to, for example, Banff National Park or Jasper National Park in Canada, you have to call them out first to see, are there more than enough? Can I go into the park today or tomorrow? Because they have a certain number of people going into the park to make sure that the carrying capacity is complied. Carrying capacity is the number of people who can go into the area.
How
If
can
you exceed the number, then you will destroy the natural resources of that area significantly.
So how can we change the mindset in order for us to improve the ecotourism industry?
I think one of the things that we have to do is through education. Education, as far as I see it, has a long way to go when it comes to understanding what is ecotourism. So when the present youth, talks about ecotourism, for most of them, they see ecotourism as visits to natural areas, be the natural areas degraded or not. And they don't really know what are the kind of activities which can be carried out or conducted in those areas. Now, when this happens, we always have a false image of what is ecotourism, and we start doing activities which are actually not doesn't tally with the needs of ecotourism. And when these youth become adults, and if they are interested in ecotourism or any related activities, they will start carrying that mindset. So in the schooling system, there has to be a clear understanding, no matter how brief, on the need for ecotourism and also what is the real ecotourism. We have to make a difference between ecotourism and other forms of tourism.
So we will take a short break, but when we return back, I will ask you more on the question regarding on ecotourism as well as the Caviar project.
Okay, sure.
The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene, and you are listening to Durian ASEAN. We are returning back with more discussion with Amlir Ayat. He is the Vice President of Ecoknights, as well as he's an environmentalist himself. And today we will continue our discussion on ecotourism in this country and what went wrong. So to continue the question, I would like to know, Amlir, what are the challenges that Malaysia is facing right now when it comes to the environmental issues in this country?
Okay, thank you, Arlene, for that question, because I was thinking of talking about the challenges faced by ecotourism, especially from the economic demands of the country. Like I said earlier, ecotourism, in terms of fast cash, it cannot compete with other industrial or quick money delivering industries such as mining, logging, golf resorts, factories, or even mass commercialized tourism. And our country, sad to say, is filled with a lot of people and also politicians and business people who want to get quick money. Ecotourism doesn't do that, but other activities, yes. And many of them have the decision-making power to change things, even to the Gazette forest reserve or pollute waters, which are relatively dwindling fast in terms of size and biodiversity, despite many of the fine and bright visions are about our natural system in the national policy statement. For example, the demand to gazette both sides of Belum Forest, for example, hasn't been granted by the Perak state government. For example,
why is that so?
Because there is a lot of economic activities which can be carried out on the right side of the highway. If you take the highway, the east-west highway, from Perak towards Kelantan, you will reach the Belum Forest Reserve, which is protected on the left, but not protected on the right. Now, this is not very good for the forest because that means a disconnection for a lot of animals and also, of course, the survival of the plants there. We need to have both areas protected. So the demand for fast money from logging activities is very strong. People want to get quick money. Ecotourism or the establishment of parks may not be able to do that. Okay, so and recently, and you have to understand that that Royal Bloom Forest Reserve Park is a 3,000 square kilometer complex of nature, one of the most important heritage for the country. It is home to over 3,000 species of flowering plants, including 3 species of the largest flowers in the world, that is Rafflesia.
Oh, yeah, definitely Rafflesia.
Yes, and we have 7 species of hornbills scattered around the country, but Belum is the only place in the country where you can have all 7 species of hornbills in one place. So Belum is a very, very important natural resource that we have to protect and conserve. Now, recently, of course, you did mention about the caviar. I would like to give a brief introduction to that project. It is a proposed project by the Felda Global Ventures, or the FGV, for the breeding of a foreign or exotic species of fish known as the sturgeon, or in this case, specifically the Siberian sturgeon. Now, that project is going to be carried out in Kuala Tahan, very near, not in, but very near to Taman Negara, not in Taman Negara, along Sungai Tembeling, which is just across the canopy. Now, according to the Fisheries Act 1985, it is illegal to bring into the country an exotic species such as the sturgeon. Now, it seems that there is an exception given by the Department of Fisheries to the Siberian sturgeon to be raised by the FGV or Caviar project. It is already known that the location of the project, which is developed with a South Korean company, will be located in the watershed of Sungai Tabung in a 50-hectare area in Kuala Tahan, Jerantut, Pahang, which is just across the Taman Negara. Now, it is located on the left bank of Sungai Tembeling, just across from the canopy walk of the national park. And there are a few reasons why this project needs a lot more careful consideration.
I see. Before you answer your question, I also want to interject and let you know that the Malaysian Nature Society is actually against the Caviar project, and they have valid reasons for that. But I'm sure you can explain further about the Caviar project.
Yes, I'm going to share with you some of the points and ideas of the president of MNS, who is a good friend of mine, Professor Dr. Makatak Muhammad, a very intelligent and committed person. He said that some of the reasons for being against to this project is that, first, of course, the location of the project, of the proposed project site. Okay. Now, if it occurs that any sturgeon would escape to the river, it will cause havoc to the precious, for example, the precious ikan kelah fish. Okay, scientific name is Tortambroides, and also ikan temoleh, the temoleh fish, or temelian, Probabus juliani, as well as other species endemic to Malaysia, because sturgeon is a very hardy species. Okay. Now, secondly, the majority, which counts about 90% of the people in Kuala Tahan, depend directly or indirectly on ecotourism in Taman Negara as their main source of their economic source, and they are very, very much against the project. According to one survey done through the Facebook, okay, about 30%, maybe more than 30% are against the project, and only about 7 agree with the project. The rest are not really well informed about it. They cannot make decisions. Okay. So, and the third, the other reason is what I see as an ad hoc approach to that project, or the bulldoze method of the sturgeon or the caviar project. Now, incredibly, the project is just next to a national heritage, the Taman Negara, and it was passed without going through the feasibility study, the normal feasibility study, if not a detailed Environmental Impact Assessment, DEIA, study and report. Now, I am not sure why is this not happening.
There's no study at all, like not even a single study that you can list out that has been done by FELDA to justify the sturgeons being raised?
As far as I know, no. There is no study, and it seems that even if there are, then the reports are not being shown totally and transparently to the public, even the local communities. I can understand that if the local communities are being shown, but not even the local communities, which have been there for decades, for hundreds of years, depending on the ecosystem and the survival and the integrity of the ecosystem has been made known about the studies. Now, just because the project is financed or developed by FELDA under the ASER or the East Coast Economic Region, and therefore directly under the Prime Minister's Department, it does not mean that the project can be dumped onto a community and the nearby environment without the necessary studies and reports that you mentioned just now.
Is there any consultation happening between the community and FELDA?
Okay, there is a consultation, but this is what I call one of the lowest levels of consultation, where people are being informed about the project and promoted and brainwashed to accept the project, where you have a lot of people at the same time who are against the project. I believe that the considerations or the demands of the people are not being fulfilled appropriately. This is something which is totally against sustainable development. Sustainable development, let me stress here, is the use of nature resources for the survival of the present and future generations. Now, it seems that if you want to have that kind of sustainability, one of the criteria is consultation. Consultation here means two-way communication, planning together, implementing together, and then coming up with the project. Now, this is what is happening right now is a one-way communication, where people are being told that they have to accept this project and it's good for your economic livelihood. Now, this is not sustainable development at all. And when you talk about economic development, it's just like what I said. You know, we always the pro for this project is always about the fast income. They do not come up with a proper solution, sustainable solution towards the environmental degradation that might occur from that project. And the risk is very, very high, because history has shown that projects involving alien fish, exotic fish, will eventually result in these species escaping or being put into local waters, destroying the ecological balance. This happened in Kenya with siakap, Tiala ciclis in Temenggong, peacock bass in Chenro, Toman in Klanggit. Okay, now, the wisdom from the West is that one should never relocate a fish species from one natural water, for example, river, to another. Not even the same species. Okay? You have to keep that. You want to talk about ecotourism, you want to talk about nature system, you have to keep that ecosystem as it is. No introduction. Enough having a lot of people into Taman Negara. Okay? Now we want to produce something else. Now, let alone putting an alien species from the other side of the world.
Yeah, that's true. But what is the justification of FELDA to have this project and to insist on this project?
Okay, there are a lot of such justifications, but most of them is basically quick economic advantages. For example, the value of the caviar which is going to produce is about 96 million ringgit, 96 million RM. They are expected to produce 30 metric tons of caviar and 60 metric tons of fish. Okay, and they are targeting to the settlers, I believe the FELDA settlers, and also the traditional villages, and they are expected to achieve per person maybe 13,000. Not per person, the project will achieve about 13,000 per month. Okay, and this project is expected to give 30,000 extra jobs in Malaysia. So they say they are using this new technology called aqua farming, which is being used in Korea and suitable in Malaysia. It's also mentioned that this project will be carried out in an integrated manner. Okay, and the investment is about 150 million RM and will be paid through capital injection and also foreign funding. Okay, and they are also planning to breed other species, which I'm not totally clear about that. But the thing is that it is a very high-risk project, and it needs a very careful consideration. The thing is that have we carried out enough R&D on this issue? Now, as far as I can see, the future is very bleak. Knowing Malaysians, the future of this project very bleak, and we haven't taken into account what are the cons of this project. We cannot guarantee the future of Kuala Tahan, Taman Negara, and those who depend their lives not only on the ecotourism in Taman Negara, but also the integrity and the health and survival of the ecosystem. Are we willing to sacrifice our children's future just because of a caviar project, if not ours, okay, for the sake of a high-risk polluting activity whose lessons we should learn time and again? So this is one thing that I believe we miss out. Okay, this is such an ad hoc project, and a high-risk ad hoc project is a mega project for me, or relative to the ecosystem, because it involves a 50-hectare area. Now, that is a big area, relatively big area as far as Taman Negara is concerned, as far as the ecosystem is concerned, as far as the fragility of that area is concerned. Now, okay.
I want to highlight the aqua farming that you mentioned earlier, done by the South Korean firm. I want to know, how confident are you with aqua farming itself, and how much of it is actually based on assumption, and how much of it is based on real technological development that it will ensure the sturgeons will be in an area that is exclusively theirs and not contaminate the ecology of the area in Taman Negara there?
Okay, to be honest with you, Arlene, I do not know, because we have not been told what is this aqua farming. We want to know how is aqua farming applied in Malaysia. I believe there will be some differences, if not a lot, as far as that technology is concerned when it comes to Malaysia. You are talking about a Korean ecosystem, and now we are talking about Malaysian ecosystem. And there is also things said about the success of this project in the Saudi Arabia. Now you have to understand, in Saudi Arabia, we have a totally different ecosystem. Okay, over there you have deserts, and they don't really care so much about water pollution or destruction of forest. We have a very fragile ecosystem. We have to understand, this is one thing that we have to know as Malaysians. The tropical rainforest ecosystem is a very, very fragile system. When we talk about tropical rainforest, we are not talking only about the trees, not talking about the fungus. We are talking about the whole system, right from the fungi and also the bacteria, up to the trees, to the flowers, to the fish, to the water. All of these are very, very deeply interconnected. And one damage to one thread of the web is going to destroy the entire thing, sooner or later, directly or indirectly. So we have to be very careful. Now people in Kuala Tahan are already facing some water problems, even without this project. Now imagine how much water are we going to put into a 50-hectare area to raise fish, to raise sturgeon, which is not even our fish. And are we trying to compete the production of caviar with some other European countries? We are not going to win. Okay, that's not the point. But then we have other resources that we can depend upon. This is quick money, but normally, to me, based on my experience, quick money means quick destruction to the environment. We have to be very, very prudent and careful about this. Okay.
I mean, the caviar project also reflect the need, the high demand of luxury items, or probably the increased number of rich people in the global society. I think
Yes.
probably the government wants to keep up with that trend and sort of milking out the industry that the luxury industry that the rich people are consuming. But on your perspective, is that the direction that we should go? Like try to invest more in luxury economies?
Well, luxury is a relative word. If we talk about luxury, to some people this might be luxury, but to other people they don't consider it luxury, but they use it because other people or the majority sees it as luxury. For example, caviar, big cars, vintage cars. But the thing is that development is not something that is should be avoided, but we have to be very, very careful with what kind of development are we chasing. Okay, I believe that this has a lot to do with greed and also with our obsession with GDP. I mentioned before in the earlier interview that one of the problems with our education system is that our target, our main objective, our dream is GDP. How much GDP we want to achieve, or the gross domestic product. Now, GDP can only be achieved by extracting natural resources. Okay, if you want to have quick GDP, quick income for the country. So in order to increase GDP as quick as possible, we have to take the trees, the minerals and whatnot to be converted into cash. And this is a reflection of what I meant by that. We have to make sure that GDP be tallied with environmental resources, with the health of environmental resources. If we do not keep to this linear equation, then we may have higher GDP, a lot of cash, a lot of bills, but our environment, our water, our air is polluted. And that is, at that time, by the end of the day, we will realize that we cannot eat money. Okay? So this is what's happening in the country right now. We may have a higher GDP in terms of cash, but our environment is degraded. A new approach towards this problem in sustainable development is what we call the natural resource accounting. It is a bit difficult because in calculating the GDP, there is a new formula. The new formula is taking into account the value of natural resources that we have. How many trees do we have? What is the value of the environment, of the air, of water, and everything? Are we going down? Is it increasing? So all this has to be taken into account instead of just the tangible economic parameters that we are seeing right now.
So what are environmentalist groups like yours are doing in terms of reversing the mindset on GDP and towards more sustainable development sort of path?
Mindsets can only be changed with rationale, with reasons. Okay, and this can be only achieved by education, intensive education. We are against the flow right now. The main flow is for cash, for economic development. And we are trying to make the people see that economic development should tally or should go hand in hand with environment. Economy is about the sharing of resources. So basically, if we don't take care of the environment, our economy will also, sooner or later, will go down. When the economy goes down, the social quality of our people will also go down. So these are few things that we have to take into account. How can we achieve sustainability? Sustainability is not about being rich in terms of our bank accounts. Sustainability is about being rich in terms of our survival, our life quality. That is what being rich is all about. You have a lot of people in other countries who may not be rich, okay, maybe less richer than a lot of people in this country, but they have a good quality of life. Okay, so this is what we want. You go to a lot of European countries. Now, why European countries, they have this kind of living? Because I believe they have gone through that bleak experience dealing with excessive overconsumption of nature resources. So they have learned, and we have to learn from their experience and stop from passing through the same route. Okay?
So if you can advise the government or even Felda on the right way to focus in terms of ecotourism and our environment, what would you say to them?
Okay, as far as, right now, the only thing I can come up with as far as ecotourism, especially in Taman Negara, is concerned, I hope that they will be more committed to the concerns of the local people and also Malaysia as a whole, because Taman Negara is a national heritage. We hope that they'll be able to come up with a proper solution through consultation, through a transparent and healthy consultation. Bring out the report, bring out the detailed environmental impact assessment. There are reports, I believe. I'm sure there are reports about this. So let the people and let the Malaysians know it. And let the Kuala Tahan people, the people who depend on Taman Negara, decide whether this is good or not. This is the only way towards sustainable development. And what I mean by that is that proper consultation, multiple communication between all parties or stakeholders involved to come up with a win-win solution. If Felda, for example, can come up with a very, very good explanation and good solution, then let's see. I mean, let the people of Kuala Tahan decide, because the future is theirs when it comes to Kuala Tahan and Taman Negara. This is what is meant by sustainable development. Let the local community decide their future.
And finally, I think the public ought to make a more prominent role in terms of preserving our environment and also participating in more environmental sort of activities. And I think ecotourism would be one of it. But what do you think the public can do in terms of trying to be more aware of our nature?
Okay, being aware is one thing. They should know more about ecotourism and what people are supposed to do in ecotourism spots. And when they go to natural areas, especially the protected areas in the country, they should be more well aware of what they can and cannot do. Okay, Malaysians are, I see a lot of Malaysians are not very well aware of this. When they go to national parks, okay, they damage that tree, this tree, they draw graffitis on the walls of caves, okay, they throw rubbish, okay, they pollute the water, and they make noise in the forest. These are some of the things that we have to stop doing and understand, okay, and we have to respect the forest. Try to come into the forest as silent as possible, okay, as less destructive as possible, because you cannot avoid being destructive. Okay, being human, you go into natural forest, you go into a natural area, you go diving, you will destroy the environment in one way or another. But try our best to minimize our effects or disturbances on the areas.
So your final comment, anything to add on before we end this segment?
I think, like I said earlier, the main thing that we have to achieve in Malaysia is education. I believe education will change Malaysia sooner or later. We cannot say that education will take a long time. Yes, it's going to take a long time, and we have to start from now. NGOs and also the Ministry of Education have to start working together with other stakeholders to produce an education system which can develop the country into a sustainable one. This is very important because we might not see the results right now. It may take another 30 or 40 years, but we do not want our children, our grandchildren to hate us because of the wrong things that we have done.
That's true.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you very much for speaking with us regarding on the caviar project. I hope there will be more awareness, maybe from us, the public, as well as more campaigns done by environmental organizations such as yours to create more awareness.
Hope so. Yeah, I hope so, Arlene. And thank you to you and also Durian ASEAN for inviting me to give a piece of mind here.
Sure. Thank you very much. Bye.
No problem. Bye.